Welcome everyone to episode 78 of the Geeky Juans podcast. A podcast, let me just get my notes. A podcast where we cover anything geeky under the sun, from wrestling to movies to video games. The Geeky Juans is here to talk about it. I'm Steven and next to me is Jude. Today's show is all about a very popular 90s anime and probably one of the biggest anime here in the Philippines, Slam Dunk. Our guest today is actually a senior of mine in high school, Stan C. So welcome
Hey,
back.
how's it going?
Welcome
Thank you.
back, DJ Stan C of Wave 89.1.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for having me. Really excited to be here. As soon I think we've been talking about collaborating once again on an episode, and this was like months ago. So I'm glad that we finally got to sit down and make it happen. And just for you guys, I'm flexing my authentic Hisashi Mitsui road jersey.
Oh man, that is epic,
Beautiful.
man.
That's some serious slam dunk drip right there, boys.
So we're gonna like elaborate on the purchase later. Before we begin, I want to mention our Comixology gift card giveaway. This is our road to 1,000. We are currently at 927 likes. So mga 73 na lang. Hopefully
we're
my
very
math
close.
lessons did not. Hopefully my math lessons did not fail me on that. Ano pa ba? Just mention one comic book artist that we featured on the podcast, and you were automatically entered. Don't forget to like our page, by the way,
Yep,
so that you can
pretty
get to
much.
1,000.
Just
Yep.
that simple, just that quick, and
Mhm.
you're good to go, pretty much.
Yep. Or you could follow us on Twitch, and you'll automatically be entered into the raffle. So we are giving away 2 Comixology gift cards. One on Facebook. You like our page and leave a comment, or go to Twitch where you just follow us. So, moving on to the start of the show. Let me just fix this a bit. All right. So, Stan, what is Slam Dunk?
Well, if you're gonna ask me to define it, like that's something anyone can just Google search, diba? But slam dunk, I think, is really one of the most recognizable anime and manga here in the Philippines. Kasi basketball loving country tayo, diba? And this has everything you want. It's got basketball, it's got romance, teenage angst, existential crises. All of them coming together in a spectacular, epic anime / manga that has resonated through generations. And 30 plus years later, or 20 plus years later, we're still talking about it. Ang laki pa rin ng following niya dito sa Pilipinas. And I think when you zoom out in the larger shonen manga world, in the larger anime world, Slam Dunk continues to be very, very relevant to audiences. And I think it's because of how simple the story is, but it's very, very compelling.
I see. Now, for people who probably don't know what Slam Dunk is, could you give us like a quick summary of who the main characters are?
Yeah, sure. So, of course, you've got your franchise player, Hanamichi Sakuragi. He's the pinaka-main character. The series starts off with him basically knowing nothing about basketball, pero nagkaroon siya ng crush on Haruko, who he doesn't know is the sister pala of the team captain of the Shohoku High School basketball team. But what makes Sakuragi really relatable is that he's basically like any high school freshman. He's very hormonal. He's very into girls, diba? He wants to hang out with his friends. He wants to impress women. And throughout the first few episodes or the first few volumes, you'll see na he's really pretty much a loser who just really likes to get into fights. And it's not until he discovers na type niya si Haruko, and then si Haruko is really into basketball. So he's like, oh yes, I'm a basketball genius. And he just throws himself into basketball without knowing crap about the sport. So, dun nagsisimula yung adventures, diba? And then, he comes into contact with the team, and suddenly yung story ni Sakuragi gets subsumed into the story of the Shohoku High School basketball team itself, na you find out na ang laki ng hugot ng Shohoku High School because they've been the doormat of their prefecture for so many years. Diba? Talunan sila. Hindi sila makapasok ng inter-high, which is, I guess, yung parang equivalent nila ng March Madness dun sa level nila, or like the NBA playoffs. Hindi sila maka-advance to the inter-high. And si Akagi, yung center, the team captain, ano na siya, graduating na siya. So nandun yung pressure on the team na we have to make it work for Akagi and for Kogure, yung parang vice captain. And then you get to know all the other players, diba? There's Kaede Rukawa, the super rookie. There's Hisashi Mitsui, yung former three-point shooter, former junior high MVP, na nalihis, naging gangster, and then he finds his way back onto the team. There's Ryota Miyagi, who's this super cool point guard who's, I would say, is probably the most underdeveloped main character from the Shohoku basketball team. But I think he's pretty cool because... Sorry, Jude,
I think, yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I'd agree with
very
that
underdeveloped,
assessment.
diba? Like, all we really get from Miyagi is magaling siyang point guard, he's angas siya, and jowa niya si Akane, the manager, the team manager. So that's really all we get from Miyagi. And then ang ganda ng Slam Dunk as a whole, because it's not like your typical shonen manga or yung manga that's targeted towards boys, which is normally yung parang meron kang good guy and then may kalaban kang evil, nefarious villain who wants to like take over the world or kill people or like be super rich. It's a sports manga, right? So like, yeah, antagonists mo yung other teams like Ryonan, Kainan, Shoyo, but they're also fighting for what they believe is right then, diba? Which is like, I want my team to win. And you can't really call them like a-holes for wanting their team to win. So there's that. So like, I think that's something that makes Slam Dunk super special. Now, it's a sports manga, and it stands out by not really having a super villain because it's just about a team.
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
Now,
And yeah.
okay, so Jude, you did mention that, okay, one of the most obvious, I guess, iconic parts of the anime is the jerseys. And
Jerseys,
how
the
these
team.
jerseys look very similar to certain professional
NBA.
franchises in the USA. Jude,
Yeah.
who
Okay,
who
sige.
are
Let's
these
start
schools?
let's start with the big four, diba? The big four of their prefecture with Shohoku and with Shohoku. You know, Shohoku's biggest rivals. Let's start with Shoyo. Shoyo is green and white, and you know, that's just coincidentally that's the color of the Boston Celtics, diba?
Yeah.
So, and you know, they have a good amount of similarities, of course, with the Celtics. In a way that they have a playbook of playing tall players, which is like, you know, 80s Celtics, and then you could argue that their power forward Toru Hanagata, the guy with the glasses, tall guy with glasses, is a Kevin McHale equivalent because the guy just mans the post under really great. I remember like reading the manga. He's just full of pivot moves. You know, classic big man dream shakes. You could consider like he's Hakeem Olajuwon as well. So very you know, that one is very familiar. Or and then their coach slash captain, si Fujima.
Yeah.
Yeah, is like kind of like Larry Bird, or you could argue that, you know, it's a John Stockton equivalent. You know, he's like John Stockton because um very very strong point guard, high IQ, and you know, despite not being one of the
IQ?
tallest guys, not
Sorry.
even what?
Haikyuu? Sorry, wrong sports anime.
Oh no.
Ibang-iba na yan.
We're in a different one.
Old people
This
as
one
well.
is that one is good though. But yeah, next. But yeah, that's
Wait, Jude,
Shoyo.
I have a different comparison actually. Since you mentioned that you wanted to compare Shoyo to iconic Celtics teams, I mean, Hanagata's the big, diba, who's really excellent in the post, and then Fujima's the cerebral point guard, who's basically your coach on the floor, like any other point guard. I would offer to go all the way back to the '60s and to make the Bill Russell and Bob Cousy comparison. I think that's more appropriate given yung style of play nilang dalawa and the fact that they were also a 1-2 punch. So you had a big and the point guard running the show.
Actually, that's actually really a better comparison if looking back, because yeah, and then they're pretty much the two guys that are carrying the entire team for this one. So yeah, 60s Celtics.
Wala lang silang
And,
Havlicek.
Sakto on the comment section, yeah. Kenji Fujima being a player coach might be a good nod to Bill Russell because he was player coach
That's right.
during some of their
The last 2
Celtics
years. The
championship
last 2
run.
years.
Last 2 years. Yeah, that's why he has how many rings does he have? 11?
11 out of 13, yeah.
Yeah. Imagine 11 out of 13 years he was champion. It's pretty amazing stuff. Now we go to Kainan. Kainan is, as you can see in my background, the colors are, purple and gold and a bit of white. So that's the uh, Los Angeles Lakers.
Beat LA!
And
Beat LA!
yeah,
Beat LA!
beat LA. Well, yeah. Okay. Now the most common comparison to this one is Shinichi Maki. They're tall, tanned point guard who
And
who's like who has high IQ, who can run the floor, while also being a very capable player inside, having the strength, and that is basically their equivalent to Magic Johnson because Magic Johnson is a 6'10" point guard. My God, no! During that time, there was no one else like Magic Johnson, and Maki is pretty much the best comparison to that. So essentially, Kainan is like 80s Lakers. So that one's really good. Soichiro Jin is like Kareem, or although shooting guard version, or
Siya yung Michael Cooper nila.
Michael Cooper, yeah. I was thinking Byron Scott or James Worthy, but I think Michael Cooper is the better comparison kasi Michael Cooper had the 3-point shooting
Yes.
during that time, especially during a time when 3-point shooting wasn't a thing. Like, he's like the proto specialist at that time. And then before we go to Shohoku, because that one is very familiar. Ryonan. Ryonan is Shaq Penny Magic for the most part. Because Sendo is pretty much Penny Hardaway, not really a point guard. Sendo isn't really a point guard in Slam Dunk, but he's the tall guy that runs the floor, tall point guard like Penny Hardaway was touted as the next Magic, so that's why he was he was highly touted during his early career. So yeah, Sendo is Penny Hardaway, and Uzumi, which is Akagi's rival, is essentially Shaq in some way. So yeah, it's like the Penny Shaq combo, and that was a really exciting Orlando Magic team.
Sakto pa kasi yung kasagsagan ng Slam Dunk as a manga when it was being published was the mid-90s, which was also the peak of the Shaq Penny Magic, diba? That run from 1992 until 1995. So that kind of
they
lines
were
up.
able to make the finals as well. So that was like their high time during their run. Kind of like that. Yeah, kind of interesting that Slam Dunk was released or was being published during the time of the height of 90s NBA, which is
that is true.
Sobrang
naswerte yung publishing ka. Is this another Shonen Jump manga by chance?
Yes.
I would. Yeah, I think yes it is. And Shonen Jump is always has a good number of hits every time.
Yeah.
Every time they publish. So now I think we can go to the main event, Shohoku.
Yeah.
Shohoku is essentially Chicago Bulls. If the colors aren't obvious, if the reference isn't clear, they're the manga equivalent of the Bulls, the championship Bulls. Kaiderukawa is essentially Michael Jordan. He's using number 9 because number 9 is Jordan's Olympic number.
Wait, di ba 11 si Rukawa?
Wait, is he? Oh my God. Well, I'm wrong on that.
11 si Rukawa. I forget who number 9 is. He was one of the bench guys who didn't really get much playing time.
Yeah, okay.
Luwaldeng.
That was kind of sad. So, but yeah, Rukawa is basically early Jordan. The guy who will hard carry the team and is kind of selfish. This is like young Jordan where he thinks he has to do the job by himself essentially. But Rukawa would eventually grow into a more mature player and improve over the course of the anime and manga. Next one is Hisashi Mitsui. Now, Stan, for this one, they say Mitsui is like a Reggie Miller equivalent. Would you
I
agree?
I'm not sure kasi I wouldn't really say na in the NBA there's somebody who has like a comparable backstory to Mitsui, diba? But I think na in terms of sharpshooting guards from the 90s, you can take your pick between the Ray Allens and the Reggie Millers of the world. I would say na given that time frame, mid 90s, wala pa si Ray Allen sa league noon, papasok pa lang siya. I would say Reggie Miller's probably the closest comp.
Yeah, especially for I remember Mitsui had a few games where he just popped off like launched a few cold-blooded threes. I
Kulang na
forgot
lang
which
gumanito
team.
siya.
Oh man, yeah, he could have just if he ever did the choke sign, that would have been the most straight up reference in the whole story of Slam Dunk. Next one is Ryota Miyagi. Miyagi is kind of weird because every time I see comparisons, people compare him to like Isaiah Thomas or Kevin Johnson. Small, fast point guard with a good tendency to score and very athletic. So
I
that
don't
one,
mind. I don't mind the comp. Like Isaiah Thomas is
yeah.
actually not a bad comp. Nakakatawa lang kasi 'di ba very well chronicled na magkaaway sina Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan. So when you
Yeah,
have their
which is
anime comparisons coming together in Slam Dunk, that gives me a good laugh. So it's a nice little in joke, I guess, kung yun nga talaga yung comp nila.
I kind of hope that it is. It's like what if Isaiah Thomas was part of the dream team?
Yes.
It's pretty
Yes.
much the what if scenario happening in slam dunk form. Next one is Takenori Akagi, their senior center, their team captain, and pretty much a Patrick Ewing equivalent. Akagi, very very strong center, very powerful inside the paint, good blocking power,
Buzz
can
cut
dunk.
pa. You have the buzz cut to back it up.
Yeah, pretty much.
Buzz cut.
He's essentially Patrick Ewing.
In Japanese
Very very
form.
close. Now, yeah, in Japanese form, in high school Japanese student form. Next one is of course oh wait looking at the comments, Kiminobu Kogure is basically John Paxson, which is a great example.
Pwede ring Steve Kerr kasi diba he came off the bench, hit timed the
Yeah,
shots.
both are the same role, essentially have the same role where their job is to take the pressure off Jordan and make sure that they're when they're open they're ready to shoot. So that's good. Yeah, John Paxson, especially the infamous clutch shot moment of Kogure in the anime, which took a while to finish. The
Para isang
infamous
linggo ata
shot.
yun eh.
It was it felt like, yeah, but I think it kind of was because it was a whole flashback arc where you find out what happened to Mitsui and Shohoku before Hokawa and Sakuragi arrived. Now, let's see. Okay, let's go to Sakuragi. Hanamichi Sakuragi. I think there was also like a real life player based on him. A real life
Freddy Ravenna.
Sakuragi. I don't know. Real life Sakuragi. I forgot the story, but there, a guy with lots of potential who unfortunately passed away before being big. But for Sakuragi though, his comparison would be Dennis Rodman. Bad boy on the court, kind of reckless, very impulsive, but yet very, very good at rebounding. Imagine this guy wouldn't get points the whole game, but would probably get like 10, 15 rebounds per game and just hustle all the way. Hustle for the ball like his life meant it. And you would see that in the manga because He focused his whole story arc. He focused his whole basketball skill on being a great rebounder, and that's essentially Rodman in a nutshell.
Even
Although
the
it's
jersey
worth
number
noting
lines
that,
up. Kasi Rodman
yeah,
was number 10 nung nasa Bad Boy Pistons siya.
yeah, it was pretty much that. Also worth noting that it might be just a coincidence that Rodman was in the Bulls after during the publishing because diba, he was with the Spurs early on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like I think him being on a Chicago Bull XP of in Slam Dunk is just a nice little coincidence and it just fit. Foreshadowing probably. But
I
yeah,
think na
I think
sorry, I was gonna say lang na Sakuragi in particular is has a very strong connection to Philippine basketball fans in the sense na when I
yeah,
grew up playing basketball in school, I knew I couldn't shoot. I was just big. I just had long arms, so I would take pride in getting rebounds like Sakuragi, and I would always think to myself, rebound the king, diba? And what Akagi would tell Sakuragi to do, diba? The one who controls the rebound controls the game, and like at first that's just some anime shit, diba? But when you think about it in real life, you're like, oh nga, no, the one who controls the rebound does control the game. So until now, like even when I ended up being a basketball commentator pre-pandemic, I would use that line. The one who controls the rebound controls the game, especially when the team in the lead is dominating on the boards. So very
mhm.
influential siya.
Yeah, and I think that's one good message of Slam Dunk is that you can be a good basketball player even though you're not a good shooter, you're not a good dribbler. You can find your own way to dictate the pace of the game, to decide the outcome of the game. And Sakuragi found his because I think Sakuragi was like trying to find his role within the team. He tried to be I think he tried to dunk over someone a few times, which is kind of weird. And he got an offensive. I remember him getting like a offensive foul in one of the episodes. But yeah, I think that's a very good. Sakuragi is a very good example of showing that you can carve your own role in in basketball. So yeah, he who controls the rebounds controls the game. But I think that's it for the most part. Those are the most popular main characters of Slam Dunk, and the main story arc of the anime is Shohoku trying to beat the Big Four of their prefecture and
Mhm.
enter the national high school tournament arcs, guys.
All right. Saying hi to the people on Facebook right now. Saying hi to Earl Maghirang of Comics and Gaming Geeks. And man, I love the name of his site. What's it called again, Jude? SEO.
The fanboy SEO.
Yeah, fanboyseo.com. Tapos si George Carlos Pastor, Tim Montales. Yeah, saying hi to everyone who is commenting right now.
Yeah,
So
George said, Slam Dunk legit taught me how to shoot a free throw and a jump shot. And
nice.
yeah, uh, there are a lot of fundamentals that you can learn by reading Slam Dunk, it's kind of like a little basketball manual rin, which is kind of cool. Each chapter gives you like a little lesson on that.
I was watching a video essay on Slam Dunk last night.
Mm.
I was really excited for this, and I couldn't sleep. So I was like, "Yes, okay, let's binge watch these video essays, right?" And I forgot who it was. I think it was a Filipino YouTuber who came up with this point of view. Sabi niya, going through the manga, the way that Takehiko Inoue wrote it is that you get the game of basketball from different points of view. You get it from the points of view of the players, like you get inside their thought process, and then the way that they communicate with one another helps explain where the game is at, how the game works. So that's one. Second, from the point of view of the coaches when they give their own commentary, like with Coach Anzai on the sidelines or with the Ryonan coach whenever he's scouting Shohoku. Third, you also get the point of view of the fans, like the people watching, diba? How are they looking at the game? So you have yung friends ni Sakuragi, you have Haruko watching on the sidelines, you have Akane and her thoughts as well. So it's really a multi-dimensional point of view on the game of basketball, and Inoue was able to incorporate that into the pages of the manga. So ang ganda kasi ang daming points of view, but as the game heats up and you get into the crucial moments, nawawala yung outermost layer. So nawala yung fan point of view, nawala yung coach's point of view. It's really about the players and where their head is at kasi talagang nasa thick of it ka na nung laro. So ang ganda ng framing, and looking back on the anime, oh nga, di ba, you remember si Aida, the guy from Rionan with the camera, him giving his insights is a different insight from Haruko, who's watching as a fan.
All right, so that's actually a good transition to the next part of the episode, which is what made you fall in love with the show. I mean, you kind of expounded on it already, but like, what was it exactly that made you fall in love with Slam Dunk?
With me kasi in Slam Dunk, I discovered it in the early 2000s now, which is right around when GMA7 was broadcasting the Tagalog dub. And the early 2000s, so I was like 10, 11, 12, yun din yung time na I fell in love with basketball as a sport. I had just discovered the NBA, so I'd watch the 01-02 Lakers complete yung three-peat nila. They went on that dominant final sweep against the New Jersey Nets, and then I got a PS1 that year. And I had NBA Live 2002 with Steve Francis on the cover. So I was playing the hell out of that video game, diba? Vintage NBA Live, wala pang 2K nun. Or wala pang 2K sa Pinas nun. Yeah. So, I was falling in love with the game, and then GMA was showing this anime in Tagalog about basketball. And, I as a 10-year-old, what the hell else was I gonna do, diba? Did he watch TV?
Yeah.
So it was a great way to kill time and completely lalo kang ma-engross into the game of basketball. Tapos ang ganda kasi ng humor niya eh. Like very kenkoy siya. It's something that would really appeal to a teenager or a preteen, or even now to me at 31. It's still, the humor still appeals to me with things like Sakuragi feeling the pressure at the free throw line. And nafe-feel niya na everyone around him is chanting, "Sablay, sablay, sablay." Like, those are images that are indelible in my head. So yeah, basically all of those.
Nice. Now, one of the most iconic things about Slam Dunk, and maybe a lot of 90s anime in general, was pausing and having super long story arcs.
Oh God.
Before somebody shoots a free throw that has a time limit of 30 seconds?
No, it was a 3-pointer.
10 seconds, di ba?
Yeah, I think it was a 3-pointer for that one. Yeah. It was a 3-pointer that took 5 episodes at least to go in.
It's like Dragon Ball having Goku and Vegeta, or like Goku and Kiril or something. They're just trying to fight each other. But then they literally pause for 5 or 10 episodes before somebody lifts a punch or shoots the ball. So it's so 90s for me na palaging ganun sa 90s anime, palaging may long pauses.
That's shonen anime for you.
Oh yeah, that's so true. Like, what's your favorite super long pause moment from Slam Dunk, Stan?
It's got to be the Mitsui arc, man. Like when they really go into detail to explain why Mitsui was the way he is, ano yung backstory niya. I think it was as he was going to make a clutch 3-pointer. Like, it doesn't get any better than that. Na talagang they explain everything from the moment he catches the ball, he squares up, he takes the 3, he's about to release, magfa-follow through. Parang putya, parang haba nung time na yun. Like, it was really an entire week of episodes na in-explore natin yung backstory ni Mitsui, while in real time, the guy was squaring up for a 3-pointer. Like, what the hell? Like, that was one hell of a space cake for you to think about something that long in that short of a time.
Imagine all of those memories culminating in one follow-through.
Yeah, nuts. And you guys are right. Very 90s anime, and I'm no longer updated with whatever current anime yung sikat ngayon. So I don't watch My Hero Academia or JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and all that. So I gotta ask, yung ganung trope ba nandun ba yun sa mga current anime?
Boku no Hero medyo.
Sometimes they do. It's not as long, but the moments of pause, side stories between big battles, diba usually ganun, like Dragon Ball, while the big battle is happening, the other characters are just scrambling to do something that could help the main, diba? That could help Goku and company. but yeah, I think it's still a very present trait in anime, especially shonen anime, since My Hero Academia is like the next big shonen anime for ano.
It's
So
kind
yeah,
of taken over.
still
It's kind of
present.
taken over the role of Naruto in a way of being like the
Some
one
way,
shonen.
well, they're equivalents because they're protagonists that's grinding to become the best essentially
Yeah,
in a school.
that's true.
But let's go back to Slam Dunk, and if there's another space cake moment for Slam Dunk, it's the Kogure shot. Imagine if John Paxson's shot or Steve Kerr's clutch shot would have that same level of flashback. It's kind of like watching the last dance, the entire last dance, habang while waiting for that shot to go in.
Yeah, diba? I'm kind of disappointed to see Jason Ayer didn't do that actually in the last dance when they got the curse clutch shot. But pwede rin si Steve Kerr baka inisip niya when his father was killed in Lebanon, diba? Like when he was
Yeah.
taking that shot, malay natin yun yung nasa utak niya pala, diba?
Yeah, like culmination of all things going through your life, all coming down to that one open jumper that would decide the fate of a final series, diba? Would have been
Yeah.
awesome. But yeah, there are just so many long pause moments in Slam Dunk in that. Kasi Kogure naman, if the Mitsui arc showed like what the story of Mitsui in general, Kogure naman is the story of Shohoku, like
Yes.
their struggles, their like their the want their they're wanting to become like the best team in their prefecture just to get into the national tournament, especially na Kogure and Akagi are seniors, diba? They're graduating. They'll never get to experience this again in high
Right.
school kasi high school is gonna end.
I have a question
Yeah.
for you guys. Were you the type na when you were watching this, nagtaka ba kayo na bakit 3 years lang yung high school sa Japan? Kasi for the longest time, inisip ko rin, o nga, diba, freshman sina Sakuragi and Rukawa, second year si Miyagi, third year sina Akagi and Kogure and Mitsui. Diba? Parang bakit ganon? Did
Oh,
you guys ever wonder that?
I would say na that one went over my head first time watching kasi
Mm-hmm.
since I was a kid, I was grade school. I was just excited. Oh, it's basketball. It's a basketball anime. But yeah, it's kind of unusual pala na looking back. Yeah, 3 years lang pala yung high school ng Japan. And I think it's even more evident when I watched another basketball anime, Kuroko na. Wait, why? Wait, 3 years lang?
So,
Like that's
I
why
know
they're
Oh,
that's why is
Kuroko.
that why they're so game to finish to win a championship
because
because they
life
only
is
have
short.
they have one less year compared to us. Now we have 4 years to enjoy high school. They only have three.
No,
So
but
yeah,
apparently si K-12 na sila. Like way before we
uh,
adopted the K-12 educational system. K-12 na sila. So you have 6 years of elementary and then you have 3 years of junior high. That's grade 7 to 9 where Mitsui was
ah,
MVP. And then senior high na
Ah,
yung bracket nila. 10 to
senior
12.
high is
yes.
basically like 9, 10, 10, 11, 12.
10 and
Okay,
12,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah.
And
okay.
I only researched this right before we started the stream. So think about that. Like over 20 years na nandito yun sa utak ko, hindi ko siya ni-research ever.
So that's like imagine those are like shower thoughts that might not make you sleep kasi you're
Yeah.
wondering, wait, what? Why is it only 3 years? Kasi yeah, I remember na may junior high nga pala.
Mm-mm.
So junior high is like yeah, 3 years rin. So okay, so that's a nice little tidbit because yeah, it's really, you'll wonder like especially for us na we're from a generation that's used to 4 years in high school.
Yeah,
So it's
that's true.
why are they? So you just think that's why high school is kind of intense for them, no?
Yeah.
In that sense, because they have to catch up. Okay.
All right, moving on. Before we continue with the next question for Stan C, we wanted to talk about Shopee's 6/6 sale, which is happening in a few hours if you're watching us live right now. If you're listening to a replay, don't miss the 7/7 sale. So get that item you want right now with our affiliate link, tinyurl.com/ShopeeTGJ. You can get 20% off discount vouchers, cashbacks, free shipping, piso deals, and so much more. Anyway, moving on to probably the the not theoretical, but like the philosophical question of the episode. Why did slam dunk have such a huge impact in the Philippines? Besides the fact that
Oh,
we are a basketball loving
that's a
country.
very fun question because I think during work, out of all during my work discussion, we answered this one. Like someone asked, but I think Stan first. Like no, so let's go with Stan first before I share
Yeah,
mine.
sure. So aside from yun nga, the fact na it's a basketball-centric anime, tayong mga Pinoy, we also love underdog stories. Eh. Diba? Yung mga teleserye natin is always about somebody na nasa laylayan trying to find power or find wealth or find fame or success. Diba? That's the reason why Ang Probinsyano has been on TV for over 6 years.
Yeah,
sorry,
very.
sorry. Sorry si Cardo Dalisay kasi ano na siya. OP na siya. Like, he doesn't...
The
he
guy
can
needs
defeat
to be
Son
nerfed
Goku
at
if
some
with a
point,
lift of a finger.
Hindi na siya probinsyano at this point. Manilenyo na siya, legit na. So,
Yeah, it's like oh nga no, yeah, he's been in Manila longer than anywhere else in especially sa series na yan. Oh my god, what story arcs are in that show, no?
yeah, but look at yung mga teleseries na sumikat dito sa Pilipinas, 'di ba? Yung Mula sa Puso, yung story ni Via at ni Amor Powers, 'di ba? They were both ostracized from yung mga rich families that they were supposed to be a part of, and you get to follow them on their journey of vindication. So tayo mga Pinoy, we really latch on to these underdog stories mostly because we're a very poor country. 'Di ba? Inaalipos na tayo for breakfast, lunch and dinner. yun yung daily life natin. So, yung escapism natin na ilalabas natin dito sa mga shows na to. So, that's one. Second is the humor in Slam Dunk is very slapstick. And if there's one thing about Filipino tastes is that we're really into slapstick stuff. And like, you can make an argument and say na we really need to step up our yung tastes natin. But that's the way it is because of the level of discourse in our country. Mahilig tayo sa slapstick, diba? That's why in the 90s, yung comedy movies ni Dolphy, ni Rene Requiestas, ang dami mong nakikitang slapstick humor. Diba? Very physical in humor. Very lowest common denominator. And Slam Dunk was able to appeal to the masses because of that. So again, look at Sakuragi. When he was trying to learn the game of basketball, making his early mistakes, kala niya he can just ram through the defender and then dunk the ball. Pero hindi, offensive foul pala. And yung expression niya, di ba, Takenori in a way was able to really animate how frustrated Sakuragi was. Nakala niya, na-impress ko na si Haruko-chan. But no, you get called for a foul. That's a turnover, idiot. So, like, that's slapstick humor. Or Sakuragi going up for his very first dunk, and instead of dunking the ball, his head hits the bottom of the backboard. That's another example of slapstick humor. Or Sakuragi and, going into chibi mode and calling Akagi Gori. Diba? Slapstick humor again because you're making fun of the guy's appearance. So, yun, I think those are some of the really big reasons why sobrang pumatok siya dito sa Pinas.
All right, Jude.
Awesome. Okay. Sige. For for me, I remember we had this little work discussion. What is an anime that would be considered like the Filipino anime, diba? I think ang tanong ata is the national anime of the Philippines.
Well,
So,
hopefully it
parang
becomes less soon, but we'll see.
So essentially so we had a few choices. Actually, a few naman. It was I think we consider Ghost Fighter, Dragon Ball Z, Voltes 5, Voltes 5 for having historical significance before. But we found the best answer, the most well-rounded answer na people would accept, like everyone would accept, is Slam Dunk. Kasi, like as Stan said, the humor pa lang, alam mo ng slapstick, Kenkoy, in the most possible way. Especially since the Filipino dub was actually great. Like,
Yeah.
it was so good. It had a lot of they were able to deliver the character that the same amount of character na what the manga was supposed to to show. Like, they were able to express that, and that was really great. And I think second, one thing that made Slam Dunk like our top choice for in that discussion was it's an underdog story. Like, Filipinos love an underdog story kasi we've been we've been down on our luck multiple times, and yun nga, like Sakuragi is a guy na, pretty much an underdog kasi he doesn't know anything about basketball, so he had to grind, he had to work his way up. And those are the stories that we like from started from the bottom. Now Sakuragi is there on top with his head on the backboard. But but yeah, it's the underdog story that appeals. And then I think probably the high school setting rin naman. Like, high school, relatable, um nostalgic feeling of, high school life.
I mean, for
Apart from
us,
being
future natin yun because we watched that shit as kids.
yeah, we did. That's why. Like, oh my god, is high school this exciting? Maybe not, but is high school basketball this exciting? Well, depends on what school you are in, but yun. But it's a sports anime with slice of life, which is
Mhm.
really great. Which is really relatable, and of course the basketball aspect. Basketball is like this country's most popular sport, and you know, in a world where football is dominant, football is pretty much a dominant popular sport. We're one of the countries that have this love of basketball that no other few countries or no other country can actually surpass. And the
Di lang yun,
passion.
Jude.
Maybe China.
To add to your point about our love for
Yeah.
basketball and to connect it to how we Filipinos love an underdog story, basketball is a sport that we're genetically disadvantaged at
Yes.
because we are
Yeah.
short. Diba?
Mhm.
Like when you take a look at it, dapat football talagang sport natin because we're short,
Yeah.
we can be quick, we can be athletic, but we're short relative to
Yeah.
the international population. And yet we love the game of basketball. Diba?
Mhm.
We're a country where our power forwards are 6'3", 6'4", 6'5".
Mm.
And granted, Draymond Green is 6'5", but you have to be super skilled to pull that crap off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, yun nga eh. Yeah, I think it's that stubborn defiance, that
Mm.
somewhat stubborn defiance, punching above your weight kind of determination that resonated with people, and what Slam Dunk had. Kasi I think one of the most relatable characters there is, apart from Sakuragi, is Miyagi. Di ba Miyagi is undersized,
Yes.
is one of the smaller point guards in the story. Kaya I think for me, like, Miyagi is one of the best examples of oh yeah, kaya nga I think I understand why he's underdeveloped. Kasi that story of playing beyond his size is something that could have been a bit more elaborated in the manga and anime. So yun, but yeah, that's actually why I think those are the best reasons why Slam Dunk is like a very Filipino anime. It's the closest thing to the most Filipino anime. And if it comes to a point na even one of our basketball players, I think Stan, you said Mark Pingris, di ba? The Pinoy Sakuragi.
Yeah, Mark Pingris,
Yeah.
who recently retired, was actually given the nickname Pinoy Sakuragi because of the heart with which he played. And he was really an undersized power forward. He was like 6'4", 6'5",
Yeah,
and
he
he would
was.
be grabbing rebounds. I'm not sure if you guys were able to watch that iconic Gilas Pilipinas game against Korea
I
in
did,
the
yeah. I
semifinals of the
cried.
FIBA Asia Cup. Diba? We all cried. And Pingris was the guy who really personified the heart of Gilas. And he was really playing with the passion of a Hanamichi Sakuragi. So, you have that as an example. Another local example is Jackson Corpus. Jackson Corpus is a relatively younger player. I'm not sure which team he plays for now. I first heard of him no nasa Colombian. Si Corpus is also like a Sakuragi. Very hyper athletic, rebounder. May elements of Rodman din siya because he used to show up with colored hair. As in like these wild colors. Like he would show up one game na pink yung hair niya, the next day it would be like neon green or whatever color. So Corpus is also like a Sakuragi. Internationally, Japan had its own Sakuragi, J.R. Sakuragi, the import formerly known as J.R. Henderson. So he was a guy who literally changed his name so he could be naturalized. And he chose the name J.R. Sakuragi in part because of Hanamichi Sakuragi. So, Slam Dunk as an anime, sobrang impactful niya to the game of basketball and to the countries that really fell in love with basketball. Japan in particular, because Japan is really more of a baseball country, diba? Basketball isn't the first sport you think of when you think of their athletics. It's really baseball, sumo, pro wrestling to an extent, but not really basketball. It's only parang recently nga lang na nagkaroon talaga ng basketball player na umabot sa NBA level. Yuta Tabuse in the 2000s, and then now si Rui Hachimura with the Wizards. There was another one from like the mid-2010s na hindi ko na matandaan ngayon. So kakaunti lang talaga. And we wouldn't get there if Slam Dunk hadn't come along and really converted these manga and anime fans to become basketball fans.
All right.
Very
sorry,
Philippine,
Junior.
very basketball anime. But yeah, let's go, Steven.
All right. So the next question is, what keeps you as a fan of the franchise until today? Let's start with Stan.
It's really the nostalgia, longing for the days long gone by, diba? I grew up with a Slam Dunk poster in my room.
Wow,
so like
nice.
that would be literally the first thing I would see when I wake up kasi nakatapat siya sa bed ko eh. It's opposite my bed hanging from the wall. So like every day I would wake up, I would see the Shohoku 6 on my wall. So like that's how much I loved it. And nung nag-graduate na ako, I ended up syempre we got jobs, nagkasabili tayong pera, and that's when I started really collecting stuff. And I collect NBA jerseys kasi. So that's how I express my love for the game. I collect jerseys of the players I love. So I'm like, meron kayong Slam Dunk jersey. So doon nag-start yung search for Slam Dunk merch. And dito sa Pinas kasi, parang walang Slam Dunk merch noon. Even if you went to Green Hills, di ka makakahanap ng t-shirt, ng jerseys. This was 2000s, 2010s. So I went to Taiwan on an internship post-graduation. I lived there for a couple of months. And I met this Taiwanese guy named Mark. And he showed up to our trainee house wearing a jersey like the one I'm wearing now, a Mitsui jersey. And I was like, yo, what the hell is that? That's a Slam Dunk jersey. And it looked authentic kasi it had this patch. Yeah, so it had the logo of the school. And then it also had this patch. So yung mga patch na ganyan, that's kind of how you know na medyo legit yung merch. And then I asked to feel it. Medyo walang hiya ako eh. It's like, can I touch the jersey? Tingnan ko lang siyang class A or whatever. And then naka-stitch siya. Like, this one is stitched. And if you're collecting jerseys, yung mga swingman, yung mga nakatahi yung font, yun yung talagang valuable. Sabi ko, puta, saan mo nabili yun? Obviously, not in Tagalog, di ba? So, I was like, saan mo nabili yun? And he says, in-order ko lang online. So, 2012 ito, 9 years ago, in-order niya online, and then he picked it up at freaking 7-Eleven. And I'm like,
yeah. Yan yung sobrang uso sa Taiwan and Japan. You can pick up anything there.
Yes.
You can have it delivered there.
Awesome.
Right. So I was like, dude, how do I get a piece of this shit? Like, I'm in Taiwan, I have the money, let's fucking go. So he orders it from me, and I'm like, how do I know my size? I'm like, Mark, can you take off your jersey? Susukatin ko para alam ko yung size ko pa. So I put on his jersey, and it turned out that we were the same size. So I had Mark order this Mitsui jersey for me, and then a couple of weeks later, it went to the 7-Eleven near where I lived, and then Mark picked it up, and then he gave it to me. So I still have the original tag. Wait lang, I have the original tag from the jersey. So it came in the Slam Dunk plastic bags, and then meron pa siya yung tags na ganito.
Wow, nice.
So hindi ko alam kung kita yung price eh. There, it's 850 Taiwan dollars.
That's not bad.
It's like 1,500 pesos.
Yeah.
Not a bad
That's
deal,
not bad.
actually.
Not bad. Like cheaper than like the Giannis jersey I keep on seeing sa Nike ads ko sa Facebook.
Yeah.
Like the Giannis swingman's like what? 4K?
No, man. It's 3,695.
Oh, okay. 3.7.
Yeah.
3.7.
So kabisado ko nga yung mga jersey prices because I'm a collector, diba? So I got the Mitsui jersey in 2012. And then the next year in 2013, I went back to Taiwan with my family. And then I was just traveling around Taipei. And then that's when I noticed na in the main city, you can actually get anime merch anywhere.
Oh,
Ang
yeah.
daming anime merch stores in Taiwan. So
Especially
I didn't realize.
One Piece.
Yes, especially One Piece.
Oh,
I
God,
didn't
One
realize
Piece.
how big of a weeb culture city Taipei is. So that's when I
Colonization,
found
man.
that they had Shoyo jerseys, they had
Yeah.
Ryonan jerseys, they had jerseys of the non-Shohoku 6 guys. Like if you wanted to wear Ishii's number 12, they freaking had it. So I was like, shit, I need to buy something else. And that was when I decided to add to my collection. And you can't be a Slam Dunk fan and have a Sakuragi jersey.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
So I got my Sakuragi jersey, and then I also got myself one of these. This is a Shoku High School towel, varsity towel.
Nux.
So it's like the ones that the bench guys would be waving on the bench when they're cheering for the team. So, medyo faded na siya because I've been using it for my workouts for years. So talagang gamit na gamit siya. The Sakuragi jersey naman, I've never worn it. I've never worn it. Yung Mitsui jersey yung lagi kong sinusuot. So yun, I started collecting these things, right? Yung poster that I mentioned kanina is no longer around kasi na destroy na siya. Got dilapidated over time.
Yeah.
But the biggest piece of my collection is the Slam Dunk Jordan Superflies that I bought in 2014. So I sent you guys the link of that one. I'm not sure if you can flash it up on the screen. I bought that in 2014 kasi nung time na yon I was doing an NBA podcast with some friends from Xavier. And dinedemonyo nila ako nun na, go Stan, go buy Jordans na, go buy your first pair. You have a job, you're making money. And I'm like, Nung time na yun, di pa ako sneakerhead eh. So talagang dinemonyo nila ako to buy a pair of Jordans. So sabi ko, sige, I'm going to ask the Lord for a sign. If I get this really big gig, I'm going to use part of that to buy the Slam Dunk Jordans. There, Stevie's flashing it on his screen. So that's the pair I have, yung Superflies. And yung retail price niya dito at the time was 9,495 pesos. Super expensive for me at the time. Kasi, I wasn't really rolling in a lot of money at the time, right? I was 24, so 2 years out of college pa lang, and I wasn't really getting huge gigs left and right. So sabi ko, Lord, give me a sign. And then I ended up getting my first gig with Disney as an events host. And Disney gigs pay pretty well. So yung TF ko at the time was 10 times the price of the shoes. So I was like,
wow.
I think this is a pretty big sign that I can go out and get the sneakers.
Yeah, that's more than a sign. Let's go.
More than a sign. Go.
So I went.
Bili ka ng dalawang pairs.
So I went and grabbed a pair of those Superflies. And I would wear them for mga events hosting and everything. I even wore them at PWR Revolution X 2016. So match I had where I was a manager and we were up against Casey Montero. I got hit in the mouth by Casey Montero wearing those Jordans. Yun yung suot ko nun.
I was there on that show. That was my first PWR show.
There, yeah.
So yun yung,
saw that,
yun yung Jordans na suot ko nun, guys.
Grabe.
Oh my God. It's actually
Howard, cool. Or do you still have the shoes now?
Yes, I still do. They're a few steps away from me. Tinatamad lang akong punasan sila and whatever, just because I'm more of a neat freak these days, as I'm sure all of us are, given the pandemic and how germophobic we've all become. So I haven't really dusted off those shoes in a while, but I still have those sneakers. Those are my first pair of Jordans, and after that, needless to say, medyo nag-expand yung Jordan repertoire ko.
Grabe.
All right. So being the starting point of your sneaker journey.
Yes, because Slam Dunk.
Yeah. All right. Now, before we continue, one last friend of the podcast. It's a very familiar brand to Stan for sure. It's Podmetrics. Podmetrics aggregates data from Anchor, Spotify, Chartable, Facebook Live, and YouTube, however you say it. We don't mind. In order to show you the real picture of how your show is doing. The best part is it's absolutely free. Sign up now at podmetrics.co and don't forget to use the referral code GeekyJuans at sign up. All right. So we are gonna talk about the last two questions now. What is your favorite piece of Slam Dunk merch that you own, Stan?
It's got to be this one, the Mitsui jersey. Because this was the first one eh. And I felt like when I got this, the floodgates opened. Parang gateway ko siya eh. That's when I realized now, wow, Taiwan is awesome. I mean, I consider Taiwan to be my second home because I've got family there and because I have worked there. So, like Taiwan is a country, guys. I'll say it loud and proud. Taiwan is
Taiwan
a
number
country.
one.
Taiwan is a country.
I have so many fond memories of that time, and this jersey is a link to that time. And the fact na I bought this at a time that I was beginning to work, beginning to make my own money, it means something to me. Kasi, diba, when you're 22, 23, you're fresh out of college, you get those first few paychecks, and if you can afford it, that's when you start splurging on the things that you never thought you'd be able to afford when you were a kid, and you were under your parents' budget, or maybe you didn't have that purchasing power at the time. So it's the Mitsui jersey. Plus, among the Shohoku 6, he was my favorite talaga. I'm a Mitsui guy.
Nice.
I loved yung redemption arc niya. I thought na of all the individual stories na kunwari si Akagi and Kogure, the lifelong goal to make Inter high, for Miyagi to improve at his game and to impress Akane, Sakuragi to impress Haruko, Rukawa to be the best rookie around or whatever. Mitsui's was the most compelling individual story. And I love guys who shoot the three. That's why Ray Allen's also one of my favorite players. So parang, alam mo, lahat sila nag-converge into my love for this one player. That's why at the time, I only had money for one jersey. I picked Mitsui, no questions asked. It was Mitsui talaga. And I'm probably not gonna own a Rukawa jersey anytime soon kasi nabuburat ako sa kanya.
Well, I don't think, very few people like Rukawa in general. But yeah.
And I'm super proud pa of these jerseys kasi when the Jordan brand collaborated with Slam Dunk in 2014, doon naglabasan yung mga Class A na merch that we now see in Green Hills and wherever else you like to get your Class A stuff. And sobrang proud ako kasi like nobody really has this. Nobody else has this in the Philippines. Or kung meron man, di ko kilala. But you know what I mean? Like it doesn't even resemble the Class A stuff. Kasi the Class A stuff, para may pagka-camo elements siya or it's got like the comic book ek going on in the background. It's not like the pure red Bulls font and whatever.
Yeah, nice. All right, so before we go, one last question. What would you like to see next from Slam Dunk? Because the last thing I've seen about Slam Dunk was a mobile game. What would you like to see next?
I think we can talk about that.
Yeah, I remember when the mobile game came out, nakakatuwa siya actually kasi diba you get to pick one player and then you play as that player and then that's it. Hindi siya tulad ng NBA 2K where you get to control a team.
Yeah.
I want more merch. I want more official merch kasi feeling ko yung story niya was already kind of wrapped up with them in the manga, making it to the Inter High, losing in the third round. The Akagi and Kogure have to move on, diba? They have to go to college. Yeah. And it's kind of like Friends where you kind of already ended the story and you don't want to unpack so much of the baggage or whatever just to like revisit where these characters are. So as an adult with a nostalgic eye in my early 30s na I have a little bit of money that I can spend into yung mga luho ko, I want more official merch. Like I need an official retailer that actually produces this merch. Like you can collab with a big brand pero gusto ko yung may official merch talaga sila. Kahit na yung Shonen Jump na yung mag-produce, basta something reliable.
Man, that'd be fun.
That we won't have to resort to the Class A crap.
All right. So I think that's about it. Thank you so much to Stan C for joining us to talk about and geek out over one of the most iconic sports anime in the Philippines in
National
the
anime
90s.
of the Philippines.
Yeah,
Steven.
I'm gonna +1 that, Jude. And thank you, Stevie and Jude, for giving me this opportunity because, as you know, I also do my own podcasts and I don't really get
Mm.
to talk about Slam Dunk a whole lot. And
Mm.
it's such a beautiful anime, such a beautiful story. And this is probably my love letter to the anime that changed my life. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to geek out about it with you guys.
Thank you so much. All right, you can find Stan on Twitter and Instagram at _StanC. You can visit us at thegeekyjuans.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube at The Geeky Juans. The podcast is available on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other platforms. We are out. I think that's about it. Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's it.
Register to
Bye. Thank
vote.
you so much for
For
watching.
Steven,
vaccinated.
Jude, Stan. Oh yeah, wait. I forgot. I almost forgot. Stan, what plugs do you want to give?
Oh yeah,
Forgot.
thanks. Yeah, sure. So first, please get vaccinated and register to vote. Sobrang importante nun.
Yes.
The elections are less than a year away, and it's really important that we, one, can vote, and two, vote the right people in, because the last 5 years have been a whole lot of work. To put it lightly. Of course, you have the podcasts I do. You have the Wrestling podcast, which you can catch on Kumu and Facebook Thursday nights at 7, as Jude and Stevie know. You can also follow us over there at Wrestling2XPod on TikTok and Twitter, at Wrestling Podcast, Facebook, Spotify, and Instagram. And then I have my own solo podcast called On Deck with Stan C, where I talk to radio DJs from the past and present, kind of like my love letter to the industry. I'm currently on season break, but you can check out and follow the podcast on Spotify. I've got 2 seasons up there. Third season should be coming in the next couple of months. I'm working on my list of guests now for season 3. And finally, I broke it on the Wrestling podcast this past week, but I'm working on a new podcast that should be premiering next week on Independence Day. And this is a podcast for the Chinoy community. So me being a fellow Chinoy, I hope that this is something that you can check out. It's called Now Steaming, and it's us serving fresh hot takes from a Chinoy millennial perspective. So
nice.
looking
I'd
forward
love to
to
drop by
launching
there if
that
ever.
on June 12th.
Nice. All right. So again, you can visit us at thegeekyjuans.com and you can find all our social media links right there. So for our guest, Stan C, for Jude Cruz, I'm Steven Tan. That's the Geeky Juans. Bye-bye.